Welcome to the LZ Sports Show. I am one of your hosts, Mark Adam. I am joined by my usual co-host. Well, he's usually my co-host. He's not a usual human being. Keith McKnight, wearing his championship belt over there in his own home as we are socially distanced. I like to say that at the start of every show, making sure that people know that we're trying to be safe. You be safe out there as well. While you're home being safe, you can follow us on all the social medias. Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, YouTube. Like and subscribe to these videos. That goes a long way for us. It might not mean a lot to you, but it really does for us. So when you follow us on any of those platforms, like and subscribe to the videos, ring the bell, get those notifications. That way you know when the show goes up on our channel. All of that, blah, blah, blah. If you want to have your say, you can. Just hit us up. The WBG Sports Line is open. Call 431-800-4555. You can leave your own voice message there. We can use that to play on another show, on a future episode. Also, email us at thelz@thewpg.ca if you are not a person who wants to talk to us, but you want to talk to us, you know. So that'd be great. And we will be right back to get into last night's dominating win over the Vancouver Canucks after a word from our sponsor. We'll be right back in the LZ.
Make your house a better place to come home to with Aquatech Pool, Spa, and Bath. We've been delivering complete customer satisfaction for over 40 years. Whether it's a fully completed backyard escape, a completely renovated bathroom, or a premium upgrade on outdoor furniture, Aquatech is the only name you need to know. That's because if it's an Aquatech job, it's an Aquatech team working on it. No outsourcing, no subcontractors. We do it all. Visit our one-of-a-kind showroom today at 1065 Dugald Road. Aquatech Pool, Spa, and Bath. We create better places to come home to.
Thank you very much for coming back after that wonderful commercial from Aquatech Pool, Spa, and Bath. We love our sponsors so much. We really appreciate them. And if you want to sponsor us as well, or get on the show, or even the website, thewpg.ca, you can do so by emailing us ads@thewpg.ca, or you can call 431-489-2401 for more information. All of that out of the way, let's get down to business. All right, big 5-1 win against the Canucks last night. Run us through these stats, Keith.
5-1 goals as we see that, Mark. Excuse me there. You know, you could see that the Jets really took it to this Vancouver team yesterday and really put the goaltending on their heels yesterday, as you saw with 36 shots. But so did the Vancouver Canucks. But, Connor Hellebuyck just had no business with having any issues there with being in goal for the Jets, and then you see here 46-54. I know Vancouver was really trying to play a really good game against them, but the Jets, they just ran into a way better Jets team. And then as you see here, 2-3 for the penalty, for the power play, the Jets really were able to execute on that. And when you're not able to execute on the power play, that's really not good. And you saw Vancouver probably would have liked things to go the other way for them. And then the penalties, just about the same. Can't really go wrong with that. It's good to see that the Jets, kept it under double digits, and both teams really attacked each other on the physicality, as you saw 17-20 for hits. So I don't think anybody shied away from I don't think either team was intimidated by each other. I just think that the Vancouver Canucks ran into a really good Jets team, and that first consecutive losses for the first time for the Jets, really, they said this is not something that's going to happen ever again. And you can already feel it, 5-1. What do you have to say about that yourself, Mark?
Well, I think they were in danger of their first actual losing skid of the season. You don't want to go down 3 games in a row. That's not what top teams do, and the Jets are absolutely a top team. They rallied, and in style. These last 2 games have been some of the best Jets hockey we've seen. Unfortunately for the Canucks, who did not play poorly, 39 shots on goal. That's not bad, right?
No, not one bit.
And they really played a good game, and power to them. That was 1 minute and 25 seconds away from being a shutout, a back-to-back shutout for the first time for Hellebuyck. That would have been his first back-to-back shutout, and Höglander decided to ruin that, and that's just the way she goes sometimes. But the Jets, a complete game. I may stop putting those face-off percentages up there because they never go the Jets' way. They just don't. So that 2 for 3 on the power play is a big deal. The most penalized team in the North Division is the Vancouver Canucks, and they did it in strange style yesterday. I thought the too many men call from the previous game and then the too many men call that the Jets took last night, I was like, oh, it's generally a game management coaching issue, and that's not something that the Jets have a lot. So I was confused by that. And then when Vancouver ended up having those two too many men penalties, I thought, that's bad. Like two,
really bad.
Two, and after you watched the Jets do it, it's very uncommon to see too many men calls in the NHL, let alone 3 in one game. That was really strange to me. But I thought the Jets and the Canucks both played a very good game, and I think the Jets were just that much better. They just are that much better of a team. They just are. So let's have a look at the scoring sheet. Andrew Copp. Last night you called me while that game, was it the first period was going on, and
yes.
I called dibs on Andrew Copp because we, for as the people that watch the show know, we each pick a player that we thought played very well last night. And for me, when he called, I was like, dibs on Andrew Copp. And then he ends up scoring 4 goals by the end of that game. I thought he played very good hockey. He was everywhere he needed to be. He did the defensive side of things. 4 goals for Andrew Copp does not mean he abandoned his defensive responsibilities. He played very, very well. Mark Scheifele potted one as well. Most of that effort was Wheeler's, to be honest. Wheeler made that charge at the net, almost scored on his own, and then Scheifele was standing on the doorstep and just sort of tapped in an easy one. But I really love seeing how full the Jets side of the score sheet is and how empty anybody else's side of the score sheet is. Thatcher Demko, I thought, played very well despite letting in 4 goals. One of those goals was Andrew Kopp's empty netter. Mm-hmm. So all around, I just thought that the Jets played very, very well. 20, 11, and 2. What a great position to be in if you're the Jets. Sitting in, for points percentage, they're sitting in 11th place. Based on raw points, they're in 9th. But I really like the way that the Jets have responded to, as you said, being, those 2 losses back-to-back really shook them. And they came back so strong against not one of the strongest teams in the North Division, but one of the strongest in the last 10 up to that game. They were 7-2-1 going into this series against the Jets, and now they're 6-3-1 in their last 10. But I really think the Vancouver Canucks have been playing very good hockey recently. Other clubs have been playing poor hockey recently. I'm looking at Montreal's 4-2-4, looking at Ottawa's 4-4-2, but I mean, that's to be expected. And even Calgary, 4-5-1. So I really think the Vancouver Canucks have a lot going for them right now. And it was a real unfortunate time to run into a determined Jet squad that was absolutely hell-bent on not giving an 0-3 in their last 3. They just did not want to see that stat anywhere near their name, so they went to work, and unfortunately they worked over Vancouver. It was a complete game, 2 games in a row. That's very seldom you see a full 60 minutes twice in a row from any club. It's really nice to see the Jets finally put that together. Paul Maurice has to be absolutely stoked. Before the game, he even said, lines that have been struggling for a while, you get to leave them a bit when you're playing the way that the Jets are playing. You can leave lines that are struggling because you believe in them, is what he said. It's not a direct quote. I'm paraphrasing. I don't remember the exact quote, but it was something to that effect. And when you say something like that as a coach, like, you just believe in them, so you're just going to let them do their thing. How much respect do you think that earns you as a coach from the players?
Oh, so much. Those guys. One thing I hear all the time, a lot of NHL players say this about their coaches: as soon as they're done talking to them, you just want to run through a brick wall for them. And I think that's exactly what Paul Maurice has instilled in these guys. And they come to work every single day for Paul Maurice, and obviously, for the Jets, and, for themselves and their families and so on. But, that's a coach they really enjoy showing up every day for, and going to work for him and playing for him and listening to him and growing with him. And, he has their best interest at heart, and that's getting to a Lord Stanley Cup final. And I think they can do that, especially with Paul Maurice at the helm. And coaching has not been an issue for the Winnipeg Jets since he's been here. That has not ever been a problem.
And I agree. I think, when you lose a couple games and everybody's like, oh, do we need to fire Paul Maurice? He's been here too long. We need to shake it up. But look at the record. Look at the numbers. The numbers don't lie. Paul Maurice they get better every year. And I mean, they're sitting in second in the division. They're 11th overall in the NHL by points percentage, 9th by straight up points. I really think that the Jets are the real deal, and they are a threat this year to compete. Do you think that they heard us talking before the Vancouver series? We were talking about how they were only +9, I think.
Something like that, yes.
In the goal differential. And so, we were talking about how everyone in the division, and I'll bring up that stat for you, everyone in white has a plus goal differential, the lowest being 13 in Montreal right now. And everyone in blue, who are currently out of a playoff position, has a negative goal differential. The best being Calgary at -13. There's a 26 goal swing between making the playoffs right now and not making the playoffs right now. I mean, Ottawa's at -40, but again, we just sort of skid by that. Any stat coming out of Ottawa is your outlying piece of data. That's your proof that, crap happens kind of thing. But Vancouver -20, not good. And the last two games alone, that's an 8-point swing. So they were, before they run into the very determined Jets squad, they were sitting at -12, and now they're all the way down at -20. So they just ran into the Jets club at the wrong time. They just did. It was rough for them, and I'm glad that happened for the Jets. I'm sad to say that happened for the Vancouver Canucks. They took a beating on these two games in allowing Winnipeg to come into their house and sort of flop them around a little bit. And now, next, the Jets have to go up against Calgary. So what adjustments do you think that the Jets need to make to be ready for a team like Calgary? You've heard Paul Maurice say before, playing the Leafs and playing Calgary are historically problematic for the Jets. What do the Jets need to do? Do you think maybe shuffling some lines? I know that Paul Maurice made a big deal about keeping the lines together, but I think that they need to do a little something different. If they play exactly the way they played against Vancouver, they'll beat anybody in this division. They just will.
They just will, yes. And I think that, I don't know. I don't think they need to change anything up. They stick with what's working. There's this investor that I'm a huge fan of, Mr. Peter Lassiter, classic guy, like single malt scotch, and he sticks to what works, and he's old-fashioned. So you got to stick to what works sometimes, and I think that this is what the Jets need to do. And like you just said, if they play the same way that they did against Vancouver, they will beat anybody in this division. I think they can beat anybody in the league at this point if they keep playing that way, and I don't think they're threatened by anybody. Going into Calgary, I just think the only thing they need to be worried about is not get into I don't like to call him a pest because he's a good player, but they can't get into the tenacity and the habits of one of my favorites, Mr. Tkachuk.
I think he is a pest. I call him a pest. You say you don't want to call him a pest. I'm all over calling him a pest. And that's why when we talked about a couple episodes ago, Murat Ates of The Athletic proposed Mark Scheifele for Matthew Tkachuk as a trade option. And in my head, I shut that down immediately based on the fact that he is a pest, and I hate that. And I don't think that that's what Winnipeg needs. That's not the style of game we play. We're not a kind of team that's going to capitalize off of those opportunities. You're just going to see him sit a lot on the bench or in the penalty box because he's being a jerk and nobody's going to help him out. That's not... You think Wheeler and Scheifele want to be worried about protecting a guy, or I guess Scheifele would be gone in that case, but do you think Wheeler and Lowry and Stastny give a crap about backing up a guy who's going to be lippy and do all those stupid, like, just irritating plays? That is not a style of play that the Winnipeg Jets want to have. That's why they are playing the style of hockey they are, and I don't know. I just think he is a pest. Just to go back to that, he's a pest. Period.
You're right about saying the Jets. Like, that's not the type of system they've ever played here. They've just always been, all right, we'll figure things out, and they clearly have figured things out. Obviously, I like the name of the trade, right? Oh, another Kachuk in Winnipeg, right? It's just the connection there. But in the sense
fair,
of like the
but
trade,
no,
other than unless like the story behind the trade, I think is what I like more. Maybe not so much the trade. You know what I mean? No.
Yeah, it'd be great for the newspapers to say, local connection, this, that, and the other thing. And but at the end of the day, that's a bad hockey move, and that's what Paul Maurice cares about. He doesn't care about local.
No, he does not. Honestly, he's not one of those guys. And
I shouldn't say he doesn't care about local. He doesn't favor
he doesn't care
local
about storylines.
Yeah, he doesn't care about storylines. He cares about the hockey, and that's what I love about the guy. And when you trade away a guy that you don't want to trade away, but it's a good hockey move, like they did with Jack Roslovic and Patrick Laine, and I mean they did it with Trouba, and it ended up being a great thing for us. When they're trading away guys they don't necessarily want to get rid of, but they know it's a good hockey move. That's Cheveldayoff and Paul Maurice. They're masters at that. Now, we briefly mentioned Wheeler. He blocked a puck on his very first shift of the game, and he missed a few shifts. And the first shift that line went back out there, the Discord server and go check the Reddit, it blew up because Mason Appleton went out in Wheeler's place for an entire shift. And I thought the Discord server, I was watching the chat there, I thought it was going to melt down. Insane. They were just so excited. And then, of course, they love Matty Perreault in the Discord server as well. And any of those handsome lads, they're going to like them in there. But he ended up playing a few shifts with that line before Wheeler righted himself and came back and ended up creating a goal, essentially, that Scheifele took credit for. So I don't know. I think he's a tank. I was really worried. Was that a worry for you?
Kind of. Because, he's an Iron Man. And then you're like, he'll pull through. It's a block shot, but you never know. Like Wayne Simmons for the Toronto Maple Leafs, he took a puck to the hand and, it didn't really look all that bad. Next thing you know, he missed 6 to 8 weeks. And, there you go.
Yeah, and that's the other thing. You never know under that skate. Because the thing is, and I'll tell you right now, as a former hockey player, if you get whacked in the skate with a puck, you're not taking your skate off. They know better. As soon as you do that, the swelling, it goes so big, you can't put your skate back on. Best thing to do is keep your skate on and walk it off if it's possible. But every once in a while, it's not possible. There's like a broken bone under there. It's not just a bruise. And that's what I think he was trying to figure out when he was sitting on the bench for those few shifts was, am I hurt or am I broken? Because there's a difference. Wheeler will play hurt. We've seen it before. You don't get to 500 games played in a row in the NHL without playing a few of those games not at 100%. That's just a fact. And so he'll play hurt, but he can't play broken. If you got broken bones, that's just not something that even Wheeler can overcome. He is a tank, absolutely, but even a tank needs treads to roll on, So it was a scary moment, but he came back, and then not only did he come back, but he came back in style. He had a really great game, I thought. There's not much we can say about their performance because it was so good. But why don't you tell me who you picked as your player of the game for the Jets and why?
Connor Hellebuyck just continues to dominate and show exactly why he got the trophy he got last year, which is the Vezina Trophy. And he's showing everybody why he's probably going to be in the contention and the talks and potentially accepting the award again this year. Like, it'll be very hard to count him out. If the Pittsburgh Penguins have a struggling stretch, it's hard to count them out of the playoffs no matter what, because they're the Pittsburgh Penguins. Well, the level that Connor Hellebuyck is playing, when you're talking about the Vezina Trophy, how can you not incorporate Connor Hellebuyck into the mix? How can you not do that? And he just continues to show that and keep everybody happy. Like, that second consecutive loss for the Jets, like, their demeanor when they walked off the ice, I won't ever forget it. It was the same look on Corey Perry's face when the Dallas Stars were going into that, when they lost that one game in the playoffs. And then they were in a must-win for the next game, and they ended up losing that as well. And I said, wow, that's a situation that I don't think anybody wants to be in. And that's the vibes I got from the Winnipeg Jets, and it showed that. And I was just like, wow, like the way Mark Scheifele was chewing his mouth guard, I was like, oh, man, he is not happy right now. When I saw Paul Stastny
and Wheeler flinging that puck into the stands, that's out of character for him, I would say.
Yes. And then I said, you know what, though? Sometimes that's what it might take, because that wasn't something I think that the coaching staff was going to be like, oh, we need to, tighten things up here, get these guys back under our thumb. No, they lost to a good team. That's okay. They're going to find another way, because I believe they have to play Edmonton 3 more times before the season's over, and that's in Winnipeg. So the Jets have a good shot at redemption here for this, to set the tone here, and whatever happens in the playoff, like when playoffs come, we'll figure that out, because the Jets are playing like a playoff team. But Connor Hellebuyck, back to that, is my guy, and I cannot wait to see how he's going to play in Calgary. And you can't count out Laurent Brossoit either, because they're both going to do however the alternation works for that series. I don't think the Jets are coming home without the 4 points.
Do they play them just the twice, or is it this a 3-game?
It's a 3-game.
A 3-game series. Sorry. Tomorrow night, the 26th, 27th is a back-to-back, and then they play on Monday, the 29th. Again, all games are 9 p.m. starts, so more late nights for Jets fans here in Manitoba, but that's okay. The fans seem to be resilient enough to handle it. But yeah, 3 games in Calgary, and they're going to go into Calgary. They came out of Vancouver with all 4 points, period.
Yes.
Done. Ran into a really hot Edmonton team, came away with 0. They are still 2-2 on this road trip so far.
Which is not bad. 500, you'll take it.
On the road, you got to take that. And honestly, to be completely honest, the Jets don't care whether they're on the road or home. They don't care. It doesn't matter. Their record at home this year is, 10-5-1. Their record on the road this year is 10-6-1. They've played 1 extra road game versus home game, and their records are almost identical. And those 2 games that they lost to Edmonton, where they played so well and got Connor McDavided, I think those 2 games, they make the swing to being 12-4-1 versus 10-6-1 on the road. So I really think the Jets, especially with no fans in the stadium, the Jets play their game no matter what. It's going to be interesting to see when the stands are full again, what changes, which teams are better, which teams are worse when they go on the road or play at home. But with no fans in the stadiums themselves, a lot of teams look very similar, whether they're home or on the road. A lot of the records are the same. So I feel like better teams are really taking advantage of road games, because the fans aren't able to lift struggling teams out of their slumps and struggles. So you got a team like Ottawa that plays, well, that's might not be the right comparison. Let's see Ottawa's home records right now. 8-6-3 at home, 4-14-0 on the road. So yeah, they're a team that struggle on the road more than at home, and they struggle pretty bad at home too. So it's I don't know. It'll be nice to see the Jets go into Calgary for the next 3 games, take 6 full points, and walk away. That would be amazing. Calgary is going to put up a fight. What do you think this series ends up? Go in the 3 games. How do you think it plays out?
Jets three games to none. I'm telling you right now, no games in overtime. They're gonna where if you always say that, do people listen to our show, or did a media guy or a media personality or a media young lady listen to us, and then when they got into the media scrum or the virtual media scrum, they stole one of our questions, which is okay. That's fine. We put it out there first, but I don't think that the Jets have anything to worry about going into Calgary. No, I think that they can handle this team very well. I really do. They have the skill to do it, and I don't know, if there's somebody I think that's going to have a good three-game series against this team, is going to be Nikolai Ehlers. I think he's going to really produce, because not that he didn't produce in these last couple games, but when you hit that wall, you're like, oh man, I haven't scored in a bit, and I think that he's going to come out a little bit for this series. So I'm rooting for him.
Well, yeah, I think we're all rooting for something to happen for the Jets where they don't take a dive or any of that, because once they get through this 3 games in Calgary, they get to come home for a little bit. They get to play against Toronto for the last game of this month, March being a very busy 17-game month for the Jets. And you see some teams that get some time off. Vancouver, for instance, doesn't play. Both of these teams play Calgary next. Just think about that for a second. The Jets played last night. Vancouver and Winnipeg played last night. The next game that the Jets play is tomorrow night against Calgary. They play back-to-back, have one night off, play Calgary again, have a night off, and play Toronto. The night that the Toronto Winnipeg game happens is the next game that the Canucks have. They have an entire week off. An entire week.
I don't know. They should practice.
Well, no kidding. I would hate that. Having 2 straight losses like that after playing so well in a stretch, to end and take a week off after 2 brutal losses. When they played very well, I thought. I thought the Vancouver Canucks, taking nothing away from them, they played a great 2 games. Even better last night than they did in the 4-0 loss. But they just ran into a team that was stone cold set to not lose, and that was just the situation for Vancouver. But they get a week off. Where next month for the Jets, I'm going to count out the number of times they have a break. They have one break where they have 3 days off, and every other game is one night off or back to back. Period. It's another very, very busy month for the Canucks, or for the Jets.
For the Jets, yeah.
So in April they play, what's this? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 15 games. Again, 17 in March, 15 in April. It's relentless schedule for these Jets, and they seem to be up to the task. The more they play, the better they seem to get, and that's what would worry me if I'm Vancouver and get a week off after 2 losses. Played so well in the 10 games leading up to those 2 games, and then those last 2 games really let you down. Going into a big break, you have to take that sulking energy instead of that 7-2-1 high into your break. That's got to be rough.
Too rough.
Let's talk real quick about Tim Peel. For those that have not heard, Tim Peel is was an NHL referee who was cut loose by the NHL after a hot mic incident. He was heard on the mic saying that he wanted to give Nashville a penalty early. And that's basically leading to the discussion about makeup calls in hockey and do they have a place. Everyone has known that they've existed forever, but it's not something that people generally talk about. It's one of those unspoken things it's just part of the game. And now him saying that out loud, now it becomes a discussion. Does it belong in the game? How much action do we really need to take to remove it from the game? These are things that matter. So it's it's a big deal. And the NHL released a statement that we're going to show you here. Nothing is more important than ensuring the integrity of our game. So says Colin Campbell, NHL Senior Executive Vice President of Hockey Operations. Tim Peel's conduct is in direct contradiction to the adherence to that cornerstone principle that we demand of our officials and that our fans, players, coaches, and all those associated with our game expect and deserve. There is no justification for his comments, no matter the context or his intention, and the National Hockey League will take any and all steps necessary to protect the integrity of our game. This is a big deal. So what are your thoughts on that, sir?
Yes, makeup calls, they exist in just about every single sport. And I remember, like, some of the refs do, I don't know, they have some tendencies. I remember watching this one mic'd up with Jamie Benn, and he's tried telling this refs, like, took so long to drop the puck. He's like, come on, stripes. We only got 3 hours to play this game here. So I was just like, you know, they exist, and yeah, they really, sometimes you can even tell, like, when they happen in any sport. You're just like, that's totally a makeup call or a hometown call, or, you know, this rep doesn't like that player, or there's just a hidden agenda or something like that. And they're even, like, forget about a makeup call in a game, in that particular game. There's probably been so many calls that have happened down the road. Like, let's say, you know, a ref is reffing this one team, and then he ends up reffing that player in that team in another city. And he's like, oh, I'm going to get this guy tonight now. And so, yes, they definitely do exist. I mean, there was that big story in the NBA, Tim, I can't pronounce his last name, so I'm not even going to try, but Tim something. And then he got calls from the mafia that they say they were going to come after his family and his children and this and that. And next thing you know, he's doing 2 years in jail for bribery and sports aiding and abetting, and writes a book about it. So, you know, there's definitely, you know, in law enforcement, they call it the blue curtain, right? So I guess in hockey enforcement for the refs, we'll call it the zebra curtain, I guess, or the striped curtain.
Striped curtain. Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah. So yeah, maybe
there is
something there.
Hockey, I think, is the worst for it. Basketball probably has a lot of that going on as well. It's a little harder to see it in other sports like soccer, where you got 22 guys on the pitch at all times, and it's chaos, and there's one guy in the middle. You can get away with a little more of that because it's like, well, you know, this is where I was standing. This is what I saw. So there's a little more of that. But I think hockey is really bad for those makeup calls and things like that. Maybe not so much at the NHL level, although it does exist as we're experiencing right now. But I think in the minor hockey, referees are very scared of feeling like people think they're biased. They don't want, you know, when you call 3 penalties in a row against a team and it just feels like, oh, I'm calling too many penalties against this team, they're going to think that I'm biased. I'd better call my next one against the other team. And that's not the right attitude to have, but it exists. It's everybody wants to be liked, even referees generally. So, you know, it's a thing where you want to be respected, but it's hard to do the right thing all the time. And
yeah.
The problem is that as a referee, that's literally your job. You are there as judge, jury, and send them to the boxecutioner. So your job is to do that and to do it fairly. And I think in this particular case, he was outed as not doing that. And that's why, and he was scheduled to retire at the end of this year. So it was easy for the NHL to just cut, you know, you're done. That's it. We're going to suspend you, but you're retiring anyway, so you're out. But had it been a young referee in the prime of his career, that might have been a different outcome. Disciplinary action, this, that, and the other thing. But then they end up coming back. Very probably. Thoughts on that?
You know, when they come back, the trust is kind of gone, right?
Yeah.
So the faith is definitely not there. And then, like, when you told me to look that article up, and I was like, well, wait, he's been reffing for 20 years. It's like, then I in my head I was like, well, no offense, buddy, like, you're probably, like, that's a long time. Like, give somebody else a chance. Then I read deeper into the article that you told me to read, and then I said, oh, well, you said to retire anyway. Well, then who cares?
Well, and that's an easy out where it's like, oh, it's this old timer that it's old school style, and we don't. That's not us anymore. It was a very easy out for the NHL, but had that been a younger player or a younger official, that becomes a completely different discussion.
Completely different. You're right, and this is going to set the tone now. Probably change a lot of things in the protocol handbook for the referees when they go to their training seminars and so on, and have their own conference calls and meetings. Right, so. This will definitely change the rulebook for sure.
I agree. There's going to be a lot of review and a lot of things coming out of this. Maybe from how the league goes back and suspends players for dirty plays that happen in game. Maybe now it's disciplinary action for officials who are caught making those makeup calls or. Forcing penalties in there for the air of fairness, using fairness as because if this team gets 3 penalties in a row, that doesn't mean that's unfair. If they deserved those penalties, they deserved those penalties, and in the NHL, it's proven that the team most likely to be put in the box is the team that was most recently on the power play. Check it out. The probability and the number of times a team goes to the box.
I'm going to start paying attention to that now.
So watch what happens. Now that may change given how much publicity this firing has gotten in the NHL. So maybe that changes. But either way, that's a big deal. So I want to leave you with my thoughts on Andrew Copp. Because that guy was a monster last night. He won somebody $100,000 in that score and win contest. So that's
from Save on Groups.
Yeah.
What?
Yeah, $100,000. He scored 4 goals, and he came very close to scoring a 5th goal, which would have been $1 million. But because it's the $1 million score and win.
Holy.
But Andrew Copp absolutely put on a clinic last night. He was everywhere. He scored an empty netter from like 200 feet away from the net. The guy was just he could do no wrong last night. He was Superman. And I keep saying the guy deserves to be on the line with Ehlers and Dubois, because not only will that make that line just as good, but I think the chemistry between Copp and Ehlers is very good. We saw that previously in the season. And I really think also that third line gets even better, because I think Mason Appleton, alongside the skill of Kyle Connor, with Adam Lowry centering those two, oh man, you think they're the best third line in hockey now? Give me a break. The Jets have the best top 3 lines in hockey.
That's why they're going to be champions. They're going to be champions. I'm calling it right now. There will be hockey in May in Winnipeg.
I love the way that Copp was playing, and I like I said, I'd love to see his shot. And that one flip for me, just moving Copp and Connor, just flipping them. And I know I get crapped on every time I say that, because people think, oh, Kyle Connor on the third line? Are you kidding me? But give me a break. Like, at this point, is there a difference between the second and third line the way that these guys are playing? No. They're getting tons of ice time. They're going to get their goals. They're producing. I think that gives the Jets even more offensive power. For me, that's a no-brainer to give it a shot at least. But obviously Paul Maurice doesn't want to mess with the fabric. If it ain't broke, don't fix it. And the Jets are playing very good hockey lately. So, I don't know. I'm just going to leave that as it is. Was there anything else you wanted to hit up before we say goodbye to these fine folks, sir?
I don't think so. I think we touched everything that we needed to. I think that the fans, stay happy, stay positive, stay behind the team. Like I said, don't put your fan gear away and keep your flags up. And, just yesterday, actually, I saw one of the first Jets flags on someone's car for the first time in a while. I'm not saying it's not something that it's not saying the first time I've ever seen it, but for the first time this season, I was like, oh, here we go. Let's get going here now.
And the closer we get to playoffs, the more you're going to see that, I feel.
Peak sales for the Jets merchandise soon.
Again, playoff picture looking very good for the Jets. Winnipeg and Edmonton by points percentage did not change positions, but you will notice from the last episode after tonight's win that the 2 and the 3 beside their names flipped. So it did go 1-3-2 because Toronto, Winnipeg, Edmonton. But now, with Winnipeg being tied on points with Edmonton and the game in hand, that's the tiebreaker right there. So they do their points percentage 6-3-6. Oh man, I'm just loving the way that the Jets are playing. So thank you very much. Do follow us on all the social medias. We're on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, YouTube. Like and subscribe, as I said. Again, it doesn't mean much to you, maybe that one click. It means a ton to us. So do like and subscribe to this channel, this video. We really appreciate it. Comment below. Comment on the WPG itself when the episode goes up on the WPG.ca. Comment via our voice calling service. You can call the WPG Sports Line 431-800-4555 or email thelz@thewpg.ca if you're more of a writer than a speaker. All good. And if you are looking to advertise on the show, of course, we would like to make space for you. So do get at us. Ads at thewpg.ca, or you can call us at 431-489-2401 for more information. All that said, we want to say thank you so much to our sponsor, Aquatech Pool, Spa, and Bath. For me here in the LZ, I am Mark Adam. I am signing off as well for Mr. Keith McKnight. And we are out of here. We'll see you next time in the LZ.